New SBA EIDL loan alternative up to $5 million. The SBA EIDL Loan Appeal updates the 6-step pre-approval lending checklist to help you go through and understand what you must have before you walk into an application with 110% confidence and certainty that you will then get approved without wasting time. We're talking about days, weeks, months, and even years of sifting through old, outdated information, fluff, theory-based, scammy, stuff that just doesn't work today. I'm going to be going over the Employee Retention Tax Credit Program, how to get up to $26,000 per employee, the PPP loan program, what's happening there, grants, and so much more in this video. But before I get started, my name is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions, and I'm a business loan broker expert who works with the plethora amount of direct lenders, indirect lenders in these brokerages. But at the same time, I already have those relationships with those direct lenders. But a lot of the times it's best to go through an in-house approach. You get multiple options, you get a better strategic partnership and the right roadmap to help you long-term, not just short-term, not just because you got a long-term loan, it's the end. You got to continue moving up levels, and it's better to do it in this format. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that world in a second. But before I get started, if you're watching me right now on the live, please give me a hashtag live in the comments or a hashtag replay if you'll be watching later on. Appreciate all of those who can make it at any point in time. If you have any questions, please feel free to voice them in the comments, and I will try to answer as I go. I'll try to get off on a tangent if I can, and if not, we'll continue moving forward on the topic at hand. Yes, I will say this. There are plenty of you who have been trying to get a hold of me via email. Perhaps you filled out a questionnaire, and I've emailed just a few of you just now. It isn't that time for me to go and do my administrative work where I'm going to be answering all these emails. I'll be doing that a little bit later, hopefully after this. And then later tonight, because it is a Thursday as well, and I usually do around 8 to 10 or so, I'll go into my emails and I'll email some of you guys. Hopefully I can get around you. And if not, please be patient with me. I am quote unquote flooded. I don't make an excuse, but this comes with the territory when you work with somebody so precise and somebody who knows their stuff in depth when it comes to all types of services, not only the EIDL loans, PPP, employee retention tax credit, the grant programs out there. You're talking about private lending, non-private lending, traditional banking, online banking, merchant cash advances, hybrid, SBA loans of any sort. Honestly, I'm doing a lot of that right now, and I'm going to get into that on the share screen in a moment, showing you guys this new hybrid approach that I recommend a lot of you guys look at, and what could be an alternative to that. Equipment, personal/startup loans, accounts receivable, asset-based financing, specific industry financing, inventory. The list goes on and on. I haven't even named them all, but I've been there, done that. I help out a lot of individuals find the right type of financing. And one thing that I want to clear up, a lot of people have been coming to me for this. While I do work with a lot of direct lenders, there is a time where I'll say, hey, we have this brokerage or this, what people like to call agency, which isn't exactly that. But we in-house a lot of lenders where I already have those partnerships with them. They're just already a part of this platform. And the best thing you can do is go in that direction, because you will be looked at getting the best possible financing. On top of that, you will have the best strategic approach and partnership with myself included, and the relationships that I have with those direct lenders already and those underwriters, as well as all those lenders that come into that equation, I get to jump on top of and help out a lot of individuals. So people have been asking me recently, and I'll get into that in a little bit later, but we don't do this whole shotgun approach where we send your information out to every and any lender. A lot of people have been coming to me for that. And I go, look, this is the best thing to do. There is this direct lender, but they're not going to look at your file that way. They're only going to look at a B or an A tier. And this is the best of the best. Here's a C tier lender, but they're not going to give you a maximum amount of funding, that's for sure. Or here's this other one I can send it to, but you're not going to get the right flexibility and the right benefits and the right early payment discounts, as well as on top of that, a lot more information. And there's not enough of a strategic partnership in going up in other levels and other services if you go that direction, because they can always specialize in just one. We're over here, no, we have multiple ways of doing this. And again, we don't do the shotgun approach. Like right now, I'm dealing with a lot of SBA 7A clients, and then also commercial real estate /504 in some cases. But what I'm seeing is a lot of individuals don't want to always go down that direction. And I understand why that's the case. You may have the impression that we're sending your information to every and any lender. We don't do that, especially at the highest tier, because we know your specific industry, and you may be limited to a certain amount of lenders as opposed to another industry where there's 2 or 3, or there's one where there's only one. So you don't have to worry about that. And the reason we do it like that, because it is in-house. I can go through your documentation. I can pre-underwrite your file before it gets underwritten. And then we also have a team of people who will be in connection with, and we're all understanding in what communication is coming through, what's going on in the underwriting, what's happening in this part of the process. So there's a huge advantage. I recommend going that direction, going in-house. And again, we don't do the shotgun approach. We don't just send it to every and any lender who will then, we'll just affect your credit score. We don't do any of that. I promise you that. And it is a private part of a private policy that you have. And so we protect that. And we're not saying, hey, we're going to send it to 5 SBA lenders or 5 merchant cash advance lenders. No, we might play with the idea and toy around with it, but we're not exactly sending it to them. We know, okay, this one specifically works with this healthcare specific industry. This one would work with auto car sales, a car dealership. Here's a mechanic. And then there are other circumstances where I do send a lot of files directly. But the case is, a lot of the times it would be best for you to do it in-house. And if I've spoken to you about this and I've cleared it up, just know that that's a huge advantage of going in this direction. So aside from that, with the SBA EIDL loan, quote unquote, funds are exhausted. And so if you're expecting any money to come through, don't sit on it. A lot of people have been emailing me about starting a new application, or I submitted my EIDL appeal, or I did an EIDL loan increase back before May 6th or on the May 6th deadline before they shut down the whole portal. And then they received more emails later on, months later, about, hey, if you needed an increase, if you were still interested, you have to supply me with this documentation because the portal wasn't open again. And so the funds, quote unquote, are exhausted. We know there are reserves, but they're not going to be released. We don't know if it'll be back within the next couple of months. Will it be back in the new year? So right now what's happening is this SBA EIDL Loan Appeal. I already released a couple of videos on that. I believe I already put them in the description. And if not, I will update you with them. And I just spoke about how to get a hold of your constituent advocate or your small business advocate as a secondary option if your constituent doesn't get a hold of you. And one way of doing that is by going through the congress.gov website. And I showed you guys a walkthrough of how to find your senator. Usually you have 2 per state, and how to get in contact with them, the various ways that the pages could look like, because they could be different. I had a few people even chime in, so I'm very grateful of that, because they have done it in their state. And there's a lot of it that's still changing the format, so it makes it easier for you to get in contact with them. And I showed you guys the templates on how to, quote unquote, butter them up with the right information. And what you want to do first and foremost when you're appealing, you want to go to your SBA loan officer. You want to speak with them directly, or if you can't get a hold of them, at least initially, you speak to at least a representative or somebody else that's a part of the SBA, another administrator, and they can give you feedback on what's verifiable and what isn't. And then once you have that information, you do as you could. So if I have to verify this, I'm going to need this piece of documentation. I'm going to need to get some kind of certification, maybe from my bank, that didn't update me on the latest credit score, and they didn't update it when I requested an EIDL loan increase, or I didn't get that much, or I didn't get anything at all. You didn't verify ownership, multiple owners. There are a lot of reasons, and I came out with a video not want to say a long time ago, but some time ago, where I spoke about verifying ownership, verifying this kind of eligibility. What are all the factors that go into some of the stuff that you can't always just see on the front end? And even if you did see it, it goes into it more specifically. So if it isn't linked down below, you can always type in SBA EIDL eligibility or something similar to that. So that's what's happening right now with the SBA EIDL loan appeals. People are going through that and getting success. Others are just getting started. And this leads me into my next point. Do you just want to sit on that, hoping that they reopen the EIDL loan? Or are you asking yourself, what are my alternative options? It's time for me to get out of this bubble of mine that I've been sitting on, hoping, and it's time for me to explore. So what I recommend, one of the hottest products right now to an SBA EIDL loan appeal or an increased alternative is the SBA 7A loan, which I'll show you guys a little bit more on the share screen in a moment. But this is a 90% approval, fastest and simplest and easiest SBA process out there on the market for an SBA 7A loan. Usually those are looked at as for growth and expansion. So you're using them to fund multiple projects. I would recommend it could be one huge one, but the amount you're looking for and the cost of it needs to make sense. Like for equipment, if you're looking northward of 400 to 500,000, if it were just one piece or multiple pieces of equipment, that's much easier to look at and say, yes, we can help fund you that. But your funding details need to be aligned, and I'm going to go through that as well as in the 6-step pre-approved lending checklist, which plenty of you guys have, but I just want to show you guys what's going on there. But 90%, and it's called a hybrid SBA. I'm going to lead in with that. And what it is, you get assessed for a variety of different funding solutions. They're unsecured on top of getting an SBA loan. So in the meantime, while we are underwriting your file and I'm getting all that information to then send back to you, in the meantime, we can look at getting you an unsecured financing option such as a line of credit, a cash advance, or a term loan on top of getting the SBA loan. And if you were to get approved for the SBA loan, you can use what you received there and consolidate, put it all underneath one, completely pay it off. And it helps you bridge that kind of cash flow that you're looking for, especially when the SBA terms are more attractive and they go between 5 to 25 years. Up to 25 years, you're looking at more of a real estate situation, but with working capital for growth and expansion, refinancing, consolidation, you're looking at some business operational expenses, but you want to usually see that your growth and expansion is exceeding that kind of relief that you're looking to take care of. So it's usually 5, 7, and up to 10 years in working capital as well as for equipment. And it can even go a little bit over. When you think about equipment and you get 1 to 5 years traditional equipment financing, that's a bargain to get an even 5-year addition on top of it. And then business loan acquisitions, franchises, buying partners out. Oh man, I do all of these. I get them done like this. But what I always tell a business owner is the speed that we move at is in direct relation to, one, yes, how fast you can move, and then two, how readily you have your documentation accessible. And then third, there's going to be likely more documentation that needs to be gathered within the middle or the beginning or towards the end of the SBA process. It is high documentation heavy. So just know that we're going to be asking for a little bit more. Maybe we need to see some form of an agreement, a letter of intent, personal financial statement, a second turnaround later on. And there's a bit more that could be asked for generally. And especially when you're trying to purchase an existing business, we need to see the business plan there. We need to see the other businesses year-to-date profit and loss on top of what you already have. And then we're asking for an agreement, a few other pieces that have been signed, like I said, a contract, an agreement, and a few other things. So don't let that overwhelm you. If you qualify for an SBA 7A loan, which I'm going to be getting into the share screen here in just a second, but what you want is generally a 680 and above FICO. We're looking at your consumer credit, usually all three, a combination within your FICO, FICO 8, FICO 9, and a few other places. And then we look at business credit. And you want to not only have business credit established in terms of, I just got a Dun & Bradstreet number, I got this with Experian and Equifax, TransUnion, and then you just let it sit there. You actually want to be building a business credit profile where you're building out more accounts if you didn't have them already. You are getting trade lines to be reported, and your credit reports are reporting to the business credit bureaus, like Dun & Bradstreet being one of them. And then LexisNexis at the end is gathering all that information that's already been reported in the past and in the current, and will be also what you're doing in the future. So these are just the bits of pieces. With business credit, you know, it's important that you have that. It establishes your business entity. It shows you are as legitimate, that if you've been operating for some time, in the qualifications for an SBA loan, you want to be having 2+ years in business. Again, it's 680 and above FICO, business credit established, have a decent paydex score built. I would say have it good, have it in the 80s and above. Have a FICO SBCS, I can't even say the word, SSBCS score with at least a 140, if not 150. But generally in today's market, you're looking at about 155. And that's also in parallel to the amount of funding that you can actually get and what you are seeking. And sometimes that score can be overwritten as long as you have strong consumer credit. And we're looking at your debt to income ratio, your credit utilization being low. I'm not even saying 30% and below. I'm even saying like 20, 10% and less. That would really help you. Debt to income ratio, not even being 43%, being under 30% if possible, being closer to zero. A lot of business owners I speak to have no debt whatsoever. And generally those that I speak to who have no business debt, perhaps they never did when they were getting their business up and running, like a lot of us do when we first get started, or they possibly purchased a business where there was no business debt to be handled. And then third, they've worked enough under that business or businesses with extensive amount of knowledge and years that there is no debt to be concerned about. And so there are those circumstances, minimal inquiries. I see them all the time. You don't want to have, honestly, no inquiries. Keep them limited to just a couple in the past 6-12 months. And even in the recent 30 days, no recent late 30-day payments, no bankruptcies, foreclosures, liens, open tax liens, federal. And we don't want to see a lot of that in the last 3 years or so. But let me jump onto the share screen and show you guys what it is here I am talking about. 1 second. What you're seeing on the screen is a document that looks a bit similar if you've already seen this in the past. And then secondly, if you've received this in your email, it looks somewhat familiar, and it could be a little bit more customized by the time you get it, and there will be additional information on how to proceed with your exact details. So there's this product where I spoke about where you can get a combination of an unsecured financing product, which is a term loan, line of credit, or the cash advance. In the meantime, so we can get you that money as bridge money if you needed it right away. You didn't want to wait 6 to 8 weeks and that general time frame where you're waiting 4 above weeks. A lot of individuals can get it done in 4 weeks, but that is considering that you have all your documentation on hand when we ask for it. Hey, we're in the thick of underwriting. We just need to get this agreement. We need to see this from your tax return. Can we actually get this portion of it that was missing? Yes, here it is. Boom, in less than a day sent in. And the time is also a factor. If you get it in before everybody's out, before that 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, if you can get your documentation done, that's why I always recommend having all your financial documents already tucked away in a Google Drive in a folder where you can easily access it from your computer PDF-wise and then send it in. But if you're that individual who takes some time and we're like, okay, it's been 3 days, well, you don't expect anything to happen in 4 weeks. Even if you did submit everything, it could drag out between 1 to 3 or so months is what we're seeing right now with these SBA 7A loans. So that takes actually 6 to 8 weeks for you to receive your funds when we're talking about the SBA loan. But when you're looking for bridge funding, which is what I strongly recommend you guys do. Honestly, I have individuals right now who have emailed, a little bit unresponsive. When I explain to you that the process of doing it in an in-house approach, yes, we also have direct lenders. I have the partnerships with those SBA lenders. I have the relationships with the merchant cash advance, the unsecured term loans, the lines of credits. I can go into naming all of those. I have a lot. However, the in-house approach enables you to move forward much faster without any constraints, without having to worry perhaps about getting your credit pulled right away when it's a hard pull with these SBA loans. When we do things in-house, I look and underwrite the file before. I have another underwriter. I have somebody else who looks at it as well on top of it. And then we can report back to you like, hey, this is how you have to adjust. This is what you should do now that we have this. And I can even go over all that before we even submit anything. But an in-house approach really helps you have more flexibility. The fees are a lot less. The terms, you can get them even higher. The rates can be dropped down. There's just so much more that can benefit you, and that's just breaching the surface. I haven't even gotten into everything, like the amount of flexibility you get on how to use these funds. Like when you go to a bank, traditionally you're told, hey, I only need you to use this for inventory. You cannot use it for anything else. You sign this contract. Well, over here, we have it different. Even if it weren't an SBA loan, if you did it in-house, there's more flexibility for you to how you use your funds. And again, a lot of this is better done in-house, and there's a place and a time to go through a direct lender, and I'll show you which one is better. And if you don't see the direct lender, but you just see that this quote-unquote brokerage or this in-house where we have those direct lender partnerships, and I'm already partnered with them anyways, it's better to do it that way. And I say that wholeheartedly, and you'll see a lot of that in your questionnaires when you submit it. So don't be, oh, well, they're going to shop around. No, we're not exactly going to just spread it out and say, hey, here are our 75 lenders. We're just sending it to all of them or 80 of them. I'm already directly partnered with, but it's better because we only look at one or two. We say, hey, you're an A-tier lender. We're not shopping this for 75 people. That's not what we're doing. We're not going to hurt your credit. We're protecting your privacy. When we directly get you in with one lender, we go, hey, that other lender that was probably trying to come in, they can no longer get into this, and they cannot continue to do this and try to help and try to do this on the back end, something that's not legal, that they're not supposed to do. So it isn't going to affect your credit score. There's a huge reason why this hybrid SBA is a reason that I lead in with it. The only place you can get it done with, and it will really help you, and it'll be the best way. A lot of people get processed this way. I have a lot of individuals right now in the process already passed in closing. Don't have to give up any kind of liquidity at closing, not have to do any kind of collateral, just listing your personal financial assets and a few other things that you have. What's liable? What are your assets? But doesn't necessarily mean we're taking away any kind of collateral or we're taking away any kind of equity or any kind of liquidity. If your cash flow is strong enough to service the debt, you have a high enough debt to service income ratio, well, you're going to benefit. And you're going to look back and think, I did this in-house. I know there's other direct lenders that Michael has, and that's the truth. I do. I'm saying that right here and there. Other people have been like, oh, well, you directed me. There's a reason why. It's better to do it this way. And we're not going to affect your credit score that way because we just sent it to everybody and anybody. No. In your specific industry, you could be limited. Other ones, maybe 2 or 3. And then those 2 or 3 go back and forth and go, yeah, it's better that I do it with this one. And I could have done it anyways. I could have said, hey, this is the better lender to go to anyways directly. But it's better that we at least saw 1 or 2 that didn't affect your score. But we saw, okay, yeah, I'm going to back off. I'm going to give them an actual $1 million more. But because I sent you to this direct lender, they're saying, even if that's the one they wanted to work with, they're going to give you $1 million less. So there's that huge advantage, guys. I just have a lot of people right now who have offers on the table. They've been unresponsive, but I'm sure they're thinking things through before they make their final decision. Maybe they don't feel comfortable giving me an answer and they think it'll be a negative one. But feedback to me is everything. I'm going to jump back into these SBA loans, but I have people right now with 200, 300, 400,000, $1 million, 2 million, 20,000, nothing, 50, 60, 80,000, all sitting on offers. Others who will be getting those. And they won't think about it twice. It's a no-brainer. My benefit exceeds my repayment. You took care of me in-house this way. You understood your underwriters, your partner lenders. You all are in communication, which I do. I'm in communication with them all. I know what's happening. I know what's happening in the underwriting. There may be a quote-unquote another specialist, but we're in communication with one another. And I know what they know. I know because I was able to communicate with the lender as well. And so when this is all circling back and forth, we're not hurting you. We're actually kind of expediting the process and making it much more flexible for you. Hi, you, Leo. How are you doing? Did you happen to go over the email that we spoke about? I was going to reach out to you today, but you know me. I want to give you some time like I do with everybody. I have a lot of people on my list that I could have contacted, but I'm giving you the time. Not like somebody else who is trying to just breathe down your neck. He sends me a text, then he sends me a voicemail, and then there's a phone call here, and I don't do that. You're a grown-up. I showed you all I could show you. Now, if this other individual that I just spoke to recently doesn't contact back, then I have, to follow up with them tomorrow. And it's the end of the month, everybody. If you guys don't hear me say this next Thursday, I believe we end. Let me check here. Fly. The 31st falls on Wednesday, and usually I do these on Thursday. So if you don't hear back from me then about this, just know that if you're sitting on an offer, that offer can expire. A lot of the times, if your offer is already on the table, we may not need a new month of bank statements if it rolls over to the next month. But in cases we do, we need to readjust. So we need to look at your most recent bank statement. Now you got to supply us the bank statement for August because now we're in September. And you're like, well, I don't want to do that. Well, this is what happens. Like a business owner today I spoke to on the phone. Revenue going down. Not too much, but if you're on a downward by not too much, it's okay, especially when we look at profitability over the last 2 years and so. And we look at credit as being a factor and a few other things. So don't wait to get in when the time is now. When I showed you specifically how this works. Will I always show you a direct lender? No. Will I always show you a brokerage where I have those direct lender partnerships already anyways? Yes. Is there a way to go through a direct lender? Of course, but does it make sense for your file? Do they actually have multiple services as one? And if they do, are you the right kind of client? So it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of, even if you went through here, I know Michael. Oh, I know him. I know them. Okay, yeah, we can work with them and actually give them 100,000. But because you went directly, you got offered 100,000 less. So the benefit is this, and just know your privacy is protected. It's not like we're doing that shotgun approach to anybody and everybody. Now back to this screen. I showed you guys how long it takes. Our SBA loans go up to $5 million, and you can generally see that with the 504 right now too. A business needs to be generating at least 120K a year in gross revenue and a 660 plus FICO, and that's for the unsecured products. But realistically, so before I go further, the 660 and 120 year in gross annual revenue, that is specific to the unsecured financing, as in the line of credit, term loan, or cash advance. So that's just to get in for those products. But realistically, what you want to be doing is north of 500. And in some cases, it's 400K. If you're looking for less, perhaps an SBA Express loan, and that's all you could qualify for. However, and that's usually up to 350,000, sometimes from 20 to 350,000 or so. And then there are other lenders who will only look at 250,000 above, all the way up to 5 million, and they're looking for more of a small to standard SBA loan cap line programs. So a business needs to be generating that to be considered for the hybrid SBA loan, and which is the combination of the other products, which is what I strongly recommend. A lot of business owners are not wanting to for this reason, and there are a lot who will take it. It's a no-brainer. The ones who don't probably are more bankable type of clients, and you're like, well, I don't want a 12% for 12 months line of credit, which does keep your payments down, and or it's a cash advance or an unsecured term loan between 1 to 2 years, probably will get you 3 years because the banks aren't lending as much and giving you that much of a term. So we then go, hey, well, we can get you 1% for 12 months at 12% interest. But what happens is when you get approved for the SBA, yeah, we can pay that off. So probably in 6 months or less than 6 months, in about 1 to 2, 3 to 6 months, you only paid 4% interest on that unsecured term loan you received for 100,000 that you are no longer liable unless we just consolidated it underneath one loan and we added that on top. How crazy is that? Where do you get this kind of flexibility when people are shying down because, well, you're dealing with them this way, and I can't explain to you how this works. I understand if you don't get it because nobody else has, but I'm here to tell you I'm taking care of you. personally. I know you, like I spoke to a few business owners today, caught one of them in the middle of getting a sandwich. And I just happened to ask where he, what he was having and kind of where he was. So that was a great sentence or two in a conversation. And I told him I'd be following up. And there are plenty more who are still on the fence, but you just don't understand because of the education that you haven't received. So that's for the unsecured products, but realistically, that's what you want to be doing north of that in a 680 above FICO. Honestly, you want to be doing 700 and above. 700 gets you into that range where we're not looking at too much debt, the inquiries, your credit utilization, you're keeping it low. Late payments really are not there. And anything else that can show up on the reports, like child support, legal issues, which I run into a lot of people. So don't be that person. If you have an offer now, it won't always exist. So be readily accessible and available when you go and apply. And I'm going to speak about how long you can wait to receive your funds once we approve you of an offer and you accept it, because the expectations need to be set straight. In addition, we will need to see the most recent 3 years of business tax returns and 3 most recent year and year-to-date financial statements. And there's more to that I'll cover right now. The SBA goes primarily off of your credit, and that's not just your credit score. For those of you who are wondering, well, I have a 680 TransUnion, I have a 690 Experian, and then we go into Equifax. Okay, that's part of it. Now, let me look deeper into your consumer credit reports. If I ask for it or I don't, and we ask for it a little bit later in the process, will you be able to supply us with that? We want to make sure everything is showing up right in LexisNexis, and we can see your business credit assessment with the FICO SBSS, a combination of your FICO and your business credit. In addition, we will need to see that. Now, note, if you already have an existing business loan that it is not the EIDL loan, we can refinance up to 2 merchant cash advances. We can look at your unsecured term loan, your line of credit. Just keep that in mind when we look at consolidating, refinancing, putting everything underneath one, completely wiping it out of that equation. So your products ends up becoming a lot better. And we actually get you more funding on top of that because you already got approved. We know what you can get approved with the line of credit, a term loan, the cash advance. So that readily helps you when you go into an SBA loan. Listen, this is my number one route that I recommend, honestly, because even if you haven't received any business funding, what an SBA lender is looking for is, have you tried? Okay, yes, you've tried. Whether you've been approved or not, that's another question. If you've been approved, yeah, that lender would like to see, how much did you get approved for a line of credit? Did you take it or not? You didn't take it. Well, I know he got approved for $200,000 there. Whoa. He is a very lendable client. He got an unsecured term loan of this amount, but he didn't want it. We got a cash advance of that, but he didn't want it, or he took it. He shows promise. He does need an extra amount of funding, but on top of what we got him in the line of credit, we can add that on top of this. We can put it all underneath one, and then that's how you move the cradle upward. Contrary to popular belief, not always necessarily is this one direct lender, if you go to them right away, are they going to solve all of your problems. I deal with a lot of direct lenders, specifically in the SBA space, that I know this. I know it very well. I attend the meetings. I go through all of this, and I go, well, hey, this direct lender is already partnered here. I know their situation. They won't get approved like this. They won't get that much. So it better benefits them to go here with the partnership that I already have with my team. And I go, we can still evaluate you for another funding product. Boom, boom, you're in and out. As opposed to this lender, they wouldn't have evaluated you for this other product. Not a hard pull on those. Those are soft pull products. SBA, once we get there, after we looked at it initially in-house, we go, hey, we can move forward with it. Do we have authority to get over this? When we go into a hard pull, when we have to even look deeper into your credit reports. That's how this gets done. But I can understand if you're coming at it like, I don't want you to send this information to everybody and anybody. That's not what happens. When you go through me, there may be just that one lender, but I go, it's better to go this way. Don't do it through here. I could have sent you to him directly this way, but it is better to do it this way. You're going to build a longer-term strategic partnership, and you're going to get access to other types of services, other ways of building you up with myself and my team that you couldn't have had if you just went here. Yeah, you can add that on top of another thing, but do you want to have everything in one place, or would you rather have one here, another funding product there, an unsecured line of credit with the SBA lender here, or this lender has a multiple range of products? However, that's not the best way to go because you're not at that tier yet. You're not at that level. You're going to get declined there. They're going to already see you on file. This other B, C tier lender, yeah, I can go submit you to them directly, but you're going to get a lesser amount. They don't know me in a certain way that they know me here in this partnership, although I already have that relationship with. There's a lot more that benefits you going at it in-house. It goes a longer ways even after you've finished with your funding. So let me come back into this. Benefits of this, you have a monthly repayment, amortization. And so as opposed to getting a weekly or a month or a daily or a biweekly, like a cash advance, a hybrid cash advance, perhaps a line of credit or other funding options, where a lot of you guys don't think that's necessarily attractive. And I can understand if you're in a situation where, hey, you really needed an SBA loan, you needed to wait that amount of time, you had a bigger projects to fund growth and expansion on top of working capital, you needed extra cash flow to help service the business operation when it goes month to month, and you want to have extra cash reserves. And there's a lot more that I can get into. I've heard it all, guys. Really, honestly, I've heard and I've seen. So I have a great understanding in just about every industry. And there's maybe one here or there that comes up and I go, oh, that's a bit new to me. Oh, this is what's happening there. Okay. But I understand how this relates. So fixed interest, but it could be variable interest as the market keeps shifting right now. So sometimes every 90 days per quarter, if need be, there'll be a revisitation. Prime rates plus 1 to 2.75% or prime rates plus 2.75. So 5.5 right now plus 2.75. So you're looking at above 7 and perhaps less than 10. Sometimes the variable interest to be factored can go a little bit above 10%, especially where we are in our prime rate. So just keep that in mind. So more like 7 to 9.5, 7.5 to 9.5. And you don't want to wait because September, there could be an increase in the interest rates. What I'm hearing from my sources and from people that I'm connected with, well connected to. And so I'm not saying it will 100% happen, but if we were to see it, will you be ready? That's my question. If more specifically, if you're looking for a SBA loan and you waited too long, like I had a guy just the other day who went out of town and he never told me. He thought just going out of town for a month or however long he was gone for was okay with us just sitting on a file trying to get a hold of him, our lender. That is not what you want to do at all, ever. Don't do that. And if you're unsure about it, feel free to reach out to me. Don't just disappear though and expect that we're just going to take care of your file and never ask anything of you, specifically with SBA loans. Like, don't do that. Don't be that person because it puts me underneath wasted energy and time. It puts me underneath a situation that I don't want to be involved with. So be on top of things. If you get a call from me in an underwriter or a lender and it's a 3-way conversation, or if it's a 1-way, 2-way, however it's done, I'm still going to be there regardless. I know what's happening. Or even a little higher than 9%. So I said that based on variable and interest rates increase for right now. You can still apply for this if you have an EIDL loan and it doesn't affect you. And if you have a merchant cash advance and other loans, SBA can look at consolidating, as we looked at also the refinancing situation. We just have to see how much is remaining in the balance, if there is anything in there. And the amount you get funded for in an SBA loan does have to factor in how much did you get funding with the other programs. If it's like a cash advance, for example, and if you get funded like over double or triple the amount with an SBA loan as what you got within a cash advance or similar, we can look at, possibly paying that off, or more or less if it's higher. Have you paid off over 50% of the balance? Has it been 65 days? If you got a 6-month term, for example, have you paid in 3 months of it already? Have you been making your payments on time? How much is left that's remaining? And then we can look at getting you add-on funds, perhaps a lot more. You started with the 200, then we move you up to 300 or so. But if you're the person who's sitting on this and you haven't jumped on top of it, don't expect the lenders to be waiting for you. This is what I want to say. I know I'm going on. I don't want to drag this out more than it has, but if you're that individual, speak with me. Give me feedback. Don't keep me in the dark. It's that same thing where you're trying to seek help, but you feel like you're all alone, or you can't confide in someone. You think they're going to treat you different, or you feel like they wouldn't understand you, or you just honestly want to become Casper the Friendly Ghost and disappear, or Unfriendly Ghost, however you see it. But what I ask of you is just feedback. I don't pressure you. Like I told the guy today, just if you need time to think your offer or go through it, I won't even be pressuring you or anything. You know me. I don't have that, like, I want to pressure you to do something. I'm not like that. And so please take this with a grain of salt. Like, I want to pressure you to do something. I'm not like that. Sorry about that. I think there was an echo because I have the other tab open where it shows the actual video. But let me see. I don't want to. Where it shows the actual video. Okay, I see what's happening. So we're still going. If you guys heard that noise, it was from the other tab where I can play the video that this is streaming to. And if I can't see your comments, let me see. I do see you, Julio. And again, this wasn't an announced. This was spontaneous. I've been very busy today. Been expecting a lot of emails coming through with specific lenders, with specific clients who have become a little bit unresponsive. Perhaps they didn't like something, but this is the truth. I share with you guys what actually works and what doesn't, what's in the best interest for you, and why it should be done the way it is. And not anybody really questions that. And it's because I've already built a strong enough connection, and it's because it is very truthful and honest. What I will say a lot of the times makes the most sense. Just run with it. If you have questions, ask me, challenge me. I don't care if you ask me, challenge me. I don't care if you challenge me, period. I actually invite you to challenge me. Hey, well, okay, well, let me clarify why it is done this way, or why that person overpromised and underdelivered, why you're taking too much time to send this documentation that's been asked of you. You even said you send it in, but I sent you an email. You were unresponsive. Hey, let's clear something up. I'm showing up for you. Can you show up for me when I do? Perhaps you're busy. I get it. However, if you're the one dragging this out too long and you're just trying to go behind my quote unquote back, which is okay. If you feel like doing that, like a lot of people have, but they didn't realize they were doing it. People went behind my back, and then they ended up coming back to me, trying to get me to help them look over an offer. And I go, what the heck do you expect me to do that for? So you just came back with an offer from another individual, and you never gave me feedback within that week or two that I was asking for. And now you're asking for me to actually look over an offer from you. You just went sideways completely. Or whether you already had that at the same time. It just shows a lack of disrespect. And if you want to deal with somebody who's going to be a robot, an automatic machine, I just will send you an offer. Here is what you can qualify for. Speak to a representative. It doesn't work like that. You guys have to be careful. Can't believe I just did that. But be careful. I hope that demonstrates the point. Now, let me jump back into this and we'll conclude. So you can see that over here. Let me move back up. Underwriting checks. Credit is what gets people. SBA 7A loans are based on profit. Got to move that over. You have to be profitable for at least 2 years, sometimes 3, but primarily 2 years. It would be a case once where it was like a year's worth, or at least have some profitability. But in a market like today, no, we need to see 2+ years of profitability. It just shows us recent history. Even if it's been 2 years, we need to see. And those tax returns up to 3 years, we can see what's happening there. And so over here, sometimes at least 10% will be asked for, sometimes 15 to 20%. It just depends on the industry and the fluctuations. Right, Gerardo? Welcome in. Hey, I still haven't responded back to you. I apologize. Here. I'm very grateful that you took the time to send me that video. Believe me, I looked through it. But I've been extremely like, if I could just tell you, if I could cry about this, that I've been so busy. But I love it. I love the challenge of helping each and every one of you out. You're not the only one on this boat where I haven't reached back out to. And I sincerely, I say this with all my heart, guys. Like, I go the distance. Where some people would only sprint, I go 4 or 5 miles around the track, and I can go do that right now if I wanted to. It'd be hard, but I know my history. I know where I've been. I just put my head down and I work. And a lot of individuals will not go to that extreme mile for you. They'll take a break and go, they'll look up and all dismay. And I'm just walk, headphones, podcast in, boom, music time. Head down again, jogging for this amount of time, going around a distance, pacing myself, very cerebral. That's who I am if you ever catch me outside. Not in that kind of way, if you guys thought that. I'll come back to the comments in just a second. Appreciate you guys. One moment. So this is what gets people. The credit and the profitability is what they primarily look at. So it's a debt to service ratio that we're looking at. Generally, you can get above a 1.25 score. That means you're keeping your expenses low. You're keeping your debt low enough to service the debt or the repayment in this case. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it's a 1.15 and above. It just could be specific to your risk, specific to your industry. So low debt to income ratio, I'd say less than 43, but more so less than 30% is primarily like the sweet spot. And even less than 30%, depending on the industry and how much of a pattern you've already built and what we can see in the future. And if this won't happen, you have it too high, but you say it won't, and we know it won't be based on the funding amount that we can actually get you, then it'll make sense. But you want to keep it relatively low. If you have zero, that's what we want. Like if you're a 0-0 across the board, zero utilization, zero credit utilization ratio, you're way below your business debt schedule, you have none of it. Oh my goodness. If you're seeking the maximum amount of funding that you're looking for, you're cash flowing, that alone will help. Okay, so right here, keep it very minimal. Minimal inquiries, I already went through that. I'm not going to go into it even in more depth right now, but nothing bad on your credit reports like late payments, history of bounces, chargebacks, everything that we're seeing on like bank statements specifically. If we were to collect those, which we can and we do, we'll collect about the last year's bank statements. Sometimes it's just based off of the tax returns, and we won't ask for your last year's bank statements, but it is in your best interest to give us that. And when I ask for it, because it opens up more possibility. It shows us how you're cash flowing. It shows us how much is going into your account per month and what is being withdrawn per month. How much are you depositing? Is it frequently? What kind of transfers? Are they wire transfers? Are they transfers from other checking accounts, from your vendor accounts, somebody you have built relationships with, and it isn't supposed to be sent that way? This is a lot of the stuff that's nominal. It's very minimal as well, but we seem to make it more than it has to. And again, what drags out what I do when I process a lot of these, it's just your documents. That is what gets people. In the beginning, yeah, okay, you may be fast, but when we ask something of you, will you be ready for it? Oh, well, I have to still get this paperwork and it'll be given back to me in about a month. So why do you expect your funds to be approved for in a month when we don't have that document? Or we need a copy of this. Can you show us and demonstrate you have this, that you have forgiven this? Oh, okay. Well, like right now, I have individuals. I'm sure you're busy. Maybe you're going to watch this now or you're in here later, but I'm waiting for your documentation. That's the next step. And it's probably been a day or two. Maybe it's the same day, but there is no feedback. Hi, Michael. I'll send you this information next. I'm just busy. Thank you. Or I know we can't get around to sending that or a text or a phone call, but something helps. Or, hey, it's been a week. Like, I don't demand it. I just, you said you would have it done like in 2 days. I get things change. You have to readjust. I'm not saying that, but at least some feedback, when I reach out, I'm doing my part. Are you out there looking for other options that don't exist, that if they did exist, aren't in your best interest? There's a reason why you speak to a business loan broker. Like Julio here, I've been helping him out to figure out, can an SBA loan work in his situation? Mostly not. And what he needs to do with his deposits. Okay, we thought we'd look at his account first and see what's happening and see. But I knew the underlying circumstances of that. I just thought it would be best to do this. It was no harm, no foul. It was better to do that, have it on file, know how we can help you, how I can help you primarily. So when we can revisit this, perhaps in December, or we do this and we go another direction, which I've already communicated with him. Is that feasible? He's not the only one. There's a lot of individuals, but he'll be a testament to that. He'll tell you. I even spoke with Yuli over the phone. You don't have to say you did, Yuli. I'm just, using yourself as an example, and hopefully that's okay. But this is Julio, just one example of many people who I help out. Somebody emailed me today. I don't know if you're just a guy who sends information out, or are you an actual business loan broker? I'm an actual business loan broker. And that just happens to give out a plethora amount of value, unlike anybody else does. I don't just focus on an EIDL loan. Like you see all those people out there on videos who just say, hey, here's a referral partner that I'm with. Go talk to them. No. even if I have those referral partner connections, whether I have them directly as a loan broker or I have them as an agent / broker with a brokerage with quote unquote what people like to call agencies, which is what we don't really call those, and it's not how they exactly operate. But I already have those partnerships in-house. It's much better in a lot of cases. So over here, let's come back to this document. Nothing bad on your credit reports, late payments, history of bounces, negative bounce, business cash flow, tax liens, and so on. Hard credit pulls for this program you tend to see as we move into the underwriting. But a lot of the times you can be well aware of that. And I'll let you know in the beginning before you even get started with anything, and just so you have your credit up to par and that you understand the expectations of this. Plus, you have to demonstrate significant use of funds for growth and expansion and not just a recovery like an EIDL loan. Yes, we can try to add that on top, of course. But you're coming to get an SBA loan for up to 10 years. Well, how are we going to just approve you of paying off all your debt? Payroll? Those are the only two reasons, although that is a factor. But there's got to be more. And in some cases, some business owners do get in with just that, but it's not as often approved for. And it wouldn't usually be the reason you're applying for these SBA loans just so you can pay all that off, right? So you'll need a FICO SBSS score of, and this is business liquid credit, just so you guys know. But sometimes you can override the 155 business liquid credit score when you're getting over 350K, when you're above like that express type of loan. Which, and if cash flow looks clean as well, you have strength in your business and you can show it as experience, profitability, etc. Like you have as well on top of your FICO is strong enough, then in cases we can look over that 155, but stronger the better. If it's higher up there, that's what we want to see. Also, don't have issues with these. Public records, the killer of them all. This is what gets everybody. No bankruptcies, liens, or foreclosures in the past 3 years. No outstanding collection, no open tax liens, no recent 30-plus day late payments. So be very careful when you come to me and you have no problems with this, but you then did get into a problem, because that will be something that can deny you for sure. Cash flow, sufficient business and personal cash flow to service all debt payments, demonstrated by 2+ years of tax returns. Sometimes I ask for 3. Credit reports and interim financial data, personal financial statement. You'll see some of these documents that I may or may not send over to you. So SBA specific criteria, no felonies, no delinquencies, and or default on government loans. Pretty standard. You can't use the SBA 7A loan for no investment property use, such as an apartment complex, single family homes, or any kind of commercial real estate that is not owner occupied. We want to see it owner occupied by the business owner. We want to make sure you're acquiring the right service so it makes sense to approve you for. Documents that I'm going to need correlating to the year we're in 2022. So I'm going to need your last year's 2021 business bank statements. And this goes for the hybrid SBA. And this is, again, the combination of the different products. And I'm going to get into an alternative. So 2022, recent 6 months of bank statements. And that, again, is for the current year. If we're in 2023, obviously 2023 is what I'm going to ask for. And 2022 business bank statements. And it could go a little bit back, but it isn't as in depth like in a COVID EIDL loan situation. 2020 and 2021 profit and loss and balance sheet. And guys, just so you guys know, I do get all this information myself. Like I ask for it. You can send it to me. Sometimes we have our in-house service where it's uploaded to the portal if you'd like to do it yourself, or I can do the other half of it, and we get it on our back end. We can see it. It's fine. But a lot of this, I want the documentation sent to me because I may need to revise something to make sure the bank statements are clean, because you're in a specific industry where you're generating revenue like this, but that it doesn't count as stated revenue because of the way you're depositing. But you have this kind of profitability that is a little bit manipulating. Although you're not manipulating it yourself, that's what it looks like to us and our lenders. So it's always great when I ask for the business bank statements, and those need to be submitted beforehand. I look through all this, your year-to-date financials. I'm over here opening up the documents, making sure that the lines look correctly in each and every one of them. What's your net profitability? What are you going negative in? And if anything, what are your actual business expenses and where are they being applied to? How much is being applied to each and every one of them? What is the actual total amount of profitability per percentage-wise per year, year over year? And those are just a few things. I do this stuff extensively. I even pre-write the file before it's been underwritten, guys. This is my bread and butter. Not only SBA, but all other forms that may not need year-to-date financials, might just need 3 months or 3 to 6 months of bank statements, a copy of your driver's license, and a voided check, or credit card processing statements. Not in all cases do we need a credit report. I won't always ask for that. We won't always need it. It's because it could be a soft pull. Even if it's a soft pull, we can look at that. So going back to this documentation, year-to-date profit and loss and balance sheet, at least through quarter one. At times that may change when we're in quarter four. We will need quarter one through quarter three. Or we're just saying, hey, we just need the first quarter for that one. Previous 3 years of business and personal tax returns, an aging AR/AP report, accounts receivables, accounts payable reports, if applicable. If you don't have any of that, don't worry about it. You don't have to go out there and create something that doesn't even exist. Or you're like, that'll happen in the future. I just haven't collected any of it. Just leave it blank. It does definitely help because the SBA primarily goes off of accounts receivable, unpaid invoices, and aging receivables. So we want to see all that in your aging receivables AP reports, and what is exactly reporting when and where, et cetera, and who's actually paying you. What are those actual customers? Because in accounts receivable, unpaid invoices, we actually look at the credit of the actual customer that you're taking those invoices from, and we look at more stuff from that. So business debt schedule, if you have debt, like I have a lot of people who don't have one because they don't have debt or they just haven't created one. If you don't have debt, okay. But if you do, I'm going to need to see that. I may send you one individually from an in-house situation, or if you have one already, or I know how to create them, so I'll forward you an over a template so you can put it all together. Application sent via hello sign. That's who I'm working with here. I have attached this to the email. I'll show you that if it's in a questionnaire that you submitted and I replied back. Sometimes I'll say I haven't attached it, so you'll see something like this. Again, it can be customized, each and every one of them to you. This will look a little bit different than the one that I send you a lot of the times. If you meet these requirements and are willing to be patient enough with me to send me the documentation, here, keywords, patient enough. I'll just put the 2. I used to just put all of them, but patient enough. And I'm probably going to put that in red here because if you're not that person, let's not do this. Let's go through a different alternative where if you don't want to offer up collateral, then just know that you're getting to look at medium to higher rates. And I'll get into that in a moment. But if you have collateral, you want to look at asset-based financing, you're looking at an equity situation, definitely I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to help you with that. I've done a lot of those. Also remember, so before I do that, via email for what's asked for right above, and you don't mind waiting months to get your funds, a month at the most extreme if you have everything ready, but it could be a little bit pushed out, 4 to 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks from the SBA, then we can explore this option. Also remember, this is what is amazing. This is why so many people get processed through this option, and I do it all in-house. It is because of the flexibility you get that we can evaluate you for the term loan, the cash advance, or the line of credit, whether you wanted it or not. And the thing is, at least you know what's there. You don't have to take it. Hey, oh, okay. And I'll show you the process of how this works. Yeah, I'd like to get $150,000 in the line of credit. I need to use $30,000 right now as we speak. I need to use it for payroll, and I got approved for $150,000. Whoa, that's going to help me. I'm going to have extra cash, more cash flow. I don't have to bridge that cash flow anymore once I've paid all that off and I cleared it. Business operational, rent taken care of, and I used only $30,000 of that line of credit and I kept my repayment low. Or I got a unsecured term loan between 1 to 2 years or up to 3 years in some cases. Wow, and I haven't even had to use all of it? Okay, makes sense. I want to fund this project that I have, but I have a huger project coming up that I'm going to need to use that money for the SBA. I'm going to need an extra $150,000 right now, but on top of that, I'm going to need to get approved for $2 million or so. So the $2 million project is probably going to be dispersed between 1 or 2 to 3 plus things. See how I'm thinking of this? I'm thinking way ahead before you've even gotten there. How? Because I've done this so much. I've done it on repeat. Hi. Yes, this is what will be expected of you. Can you please give me feedback when we get to this part of the underwriting? All I ask for is this. You can even just send it to me in one word. I'm not expecting much. Yes, okay. Talk to you soon. Take care. And I do that very in a nice way, but it's individuals who just, you get busy, but to a point, if this mattered to you so much, why would you drag it out? If something is so important to you that you can put it at the top of your priority list, do it. And so let me come back to this document, and we'll move away from this in just a moment. So we can evaluate you for those to get your funds earlier. In the meantime, we're still evaluating you for the SBA. And if approved for it, then you can use that to pay off the existing amount. You can consolidate it, put it all underneath one, and put it all underneath there if need to be. This usually doesn't require collateral, as collateral isn't the SBA's first look. Like I said, accounts receivable is what they would love when we're looking at collateral-based, asset-based financing. It's usually your cash flow strength. So what are you doing month to month? That's why it's important for me at times when I collect bank statements. What are you doing year to year? What's your profitability? How much cash is coming in versus what is going out? At what period of time is this happening? Are you more of a seasonal business? Well, forget about getting the SBA, because if you're just going to work for 3 months, or you're expecting a huge return in just 3 months and everything else is going to be just shot down an extra 300,000, now you're negative in your account. But yeah, that's not going to work. Sorry. Here's an alternative option. Then, okay, so over here, and there's more of this circumstance that I can get into, but I'm going to leave it there. This usually doesn't require collateral, as it's not the SBA's first look. It's usually cash flow strength. Then we look at like equity, liquidity. A lot of this can be liquidity at closing, 10% of what you're actually acquiring or what you're getting. But that is with depending on what you're using your funds for and what you're actually trying to get with the SBA. So it's not all the case that that'll be asked for. But we want to make sure you have enough money in your account to service the debt. Do you have enough money on hand to use as you need? And we're not having to overdraw. We're not having to use any kind of negative accounts structure. It's a lot of stuff, guys, but this is very important. And collateral is usually the last thing. But just know this. To get the full amount you like, we'd also like to know if you have any assets on hand, any kind of equity that we can inject out. If we do an appraisal on this property, how much we can actually get out of it. And what's a possible down payment? Usually 10 to 20% if necessary, but it's not always needed unless business acquisitions, which you can see in a lot of cases. So at a very minimum, 10% or no 10% down payment whatsoever is applied, because the cash flow is what takes care of your assets. For an unsecured term loan, this is for the unsecured financing that comes with the high bridge. You usually get 1 to 2 years. It's 1 to 3% interest per month, and a line of credit can be 1 to 3% interest per month. And that's not taking into consideration within the line of credit the draw fee, which usually sees 0 to 3%, 0 to 2%, very minimal. So it's the principal plus the interest on top. And I can do different calculations for you in time, but we'll leave it at this. So if you got it over 6, 9, 12 months on a line of credit, sometimes 18 months in the most premier clients, it could even be backed up by, collateral, and even we can even drag out 18 months, 18 to 24 plus months. What happens is, let's say you get 12 months, which is an ideal scenario for just about everybody. And this is what happens in today's market. So 12% by 1%, that's 12% interest. That's extremely good. Like, that is bizarre good. Now, phenomenal would be, yes, if you were underneath 10%. But in the market today, you're losing sight of the fact that this is money to help grow and expand your business, or just help keep your business afloat, as well as service all the debt, the business operational expenses. Think about it. You're treating your business like dirt if you're thinking otherwise. You're saying, well, this isn't a home mortgage. No, this isn't that. And even at then, over the 30-year time frame, you're ending up paying more. So the cash advance being 6 to 24 months, and usually a 1.19 to 1.5 factor or total payback, you can look at that and say that's 19% to 50%, sometimes 19 to 70%. And in cases you could even get higher, but you have to assess the risk. So you'll see that. And if you're a very great partner, we can even go down to like 15% in some cases. So that number is readjusted. So 15% on an unsecured financing option, that is mind freaking blowing. Now, if you have a situation where, hey, I want to get less, then that's fine. Do you have to back it up with assets? Do you have enough cash flow? Do you even qualify for the SBA loan? Well, I just needed money to help my business during these struggles. It's not all struggle money, guys. There's a tipping point where you say, enough is enough. I'm going to go out and get money. I am just struggling. I'm going to have to close my business down. Can you please help me? 99% of the time, no, because for one, you need saving money. And this is a lot of debt. And you think a lender is going to help service 100% of the debt, maybe 50% can be applied to it, but you don't even have the funding details to back it up. or you can't really get anything, or you have to start low and build your way up. But again, it's not like you need to take them and we can evaluate you for the SBA solely. That's okay. But at least, like I said, this is why I love the hybrid SBA. And I know you guys will too. Even if you don't want the funding, you're like, and then the lenders look at it and go, oh, because the lenders in the SBA, government funding, they want to make sure you have already tried other routes. You've exhausted them. Why didn't you want this funding that we had approved you for? Because, makes sense. So if you can please send me all the above documentation, I'd greatly appreciate you. You can reply back to this email with it all. In this next part, you'll still have to submit our online application in-house because that's how we're taking care of it. So please submit it. It can be a digital application. I'll likely send you a PDF so we can follow up with you in that circumstance. And you'll see a little bit of this information as I've portrayed. Note, you can set your application above and upload the documentation digitally. We can get it on our back end. We'll see it. Or you can just send it to me. I usually collect it. Other types of funding services, it may just be going through the online application and submit the documentation. That's very safe and secure. Other times I'll ask for it. So just know that. That's how I broker and that's how I agent. And that's a bit of both. Brokerages work with brokers and agents. And it just depends on the level that people come in. Like myself, not saying this in a cocky way or anything, as in a confident level, that I am up here because I've helped out a lot of individuals. I pretty much help in every industry that you guys can think of. I've helped out in one way or another. And so I also did a review. You can see that. And then there are other circumstances where, hey, we may be looking at just the SBA loan, SBA 7A loan or 504 loan. And all I'm going to need is last 3 years of business tax returns, last 3 years of personal tax returns, last 3 years of profit and loss and balance sheets, year-to-date profit and loss and your balance sheets, your ARAP reports, if applicable, personal financial statements, that stands for PFS as short. And I have that already readily accessible, so I can give it to you and send it back to me. Form, debt schedule, if there's any, invoices of equipment being purchased. If you're going for equipment financing, you're going for a form of I needed this equipment, I'm going to send you more information, and what I'm going to need is an invoice for the equipment being purchased. A lot of the cases with other ones, they'll ask for a link where you have all the information, but an invoice is ideal, is what we want for it. And then there are other services with other lenders, and I'm going to show you guys right here how I have a whole list of them, but I'm not going to go through all of those. There's different lenders for different industries, for different purposes. And again, there are the direct, there are indirect, but I have those relationships with those direct lenders, and it makes more sense to do it in that format, which I have already explained. Now, from that, I'm going to move over to this checklist. I know I spent a good amount of time on this part, but please bear with me. I see you guys commenting. Let me come over here. Hi, Gerardo. You keep learning from my videos. Have you been? How's that been going? Nice. I remember this. How much have you been running? How many miles? You're still building? You have an end goal in mind, like where you want to get to? Hi, Thalisa. How are you doing? You have an LLC, EIN, no tax return. How do I get started? Very simple. With that being said, you don't have a tax return. This kind of cancels out SBA. Now, it's a matter of how much time you've been in business when that factors in. And we can just look at your bank statements and base it primarily off of revenue-based financing, cash flow, instead of factoring all credit and collateral and cash flow together like the SBA. We can just look at revenue-based financing. And so I have to see the details. I would like to know, did you submit the questionnaire? I just want to make sure. I know I have a lot of people recently submitting them. And if for anybody asking, do I remember you? Like I spoke to a guy today. Yeah, I remember you. I was actually thinking about you, man, for the past couple of days. I just haven't been able to get around to helping you. So I have a good memory. You guys, if I spoke to you about a month ago, I know your situation. He's like, I'm the guy in this business. I remember you. But I do know you guys. I care about you, like sincerely. I go the distance. Oh, how cool. Where's that taking place? Oh, I was speaking with my family, my cousins. We sat down at my niece's birthday party, her 15th. Yeah. And we spoke about getting into a marathon, and we might do one here in Portland, perhaps in the coast, Oregon coast. and a few other things. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Hopefully it comes into fruition. But all the best. Drink a lot of water and stay hydrated. Good question. And I brought this up earlier. I'm not sure if you heard. Any thoughts on the Fed's interest rate for September? There's just a lot of speculation. My source hasn't confirmed that it will jump up, and will it jump up by so many points? But just to keep your head up, because September is generally the time of the year where something like this should be coming into effect to balance everything happening out in the economy as we're heading into the November and the December and then transitioning into the new year. That's just what happens generally year over year. But by how many points? I don't think it would go up as high as what we just recently saw, maybe a little bit half. It's just there's a lot of speculation in what the numbers could be, but that hasn't been confirmed. So I'm going to go back into this document. 1 second. I'm going to hide that. So this is the 6-question checklist, everybody, that your business and everybody else must ask for before applying for an alternative small business loan, and what you guys have to understand. And I'm coming up with new content on this, like the 5 pitfalls that first-time funding business owners make and how to avoid them. So I might be coming out with more content, and this is kind of the same thing. It's kind of intertwined if you think about it. So question 1, this should be appearing already. You guys should already had a handle on this. If you are already a member of my sequence, you should have opened this up, likely already received it when you fill out the questionnaire. You got this individually. And if you haven't gone through this, just put it to the side, like, whatever, man, what do I got to do, dude? Don't be that person because you will have the wrong expectations. But you didn't go through the 6-question checklist. So this is why we're here. You're putting up energy and time that's not being used effectively. Why are you putting me in that position? I wouldn't put you in that. So it gets you to think without me having to end and conclude on that statement. So question 1, should you apply for a small business loan? Well, yeah. Yeah, it's obvious to a lot of people. But while a small business loan is a great way to reduce the pressure on cash flow, depends on the type of service, of course, and your position. You could have viable alternatives for relieving cash flow crunch, like selling debt owed to your business and renegotiating contracts to allow for longer payment terms. Maybe you're looking at a refinance situation. Also, make sure you have consolidated or considered all alternative sources of financing, including friends and family. And one of those examples would be the hybrid SBA. And not exactly is it that you have to be looked at and considered for those alternatives, but I always recommend them. Even if you've already been approved, it might be a situation where we get you more with that. And then we can look at a situation where the SBA comes in, or you already have these. Okay, let's just go directly to the SBA. We know you already have this. It's no point looking it through. So make sure you have considered all those alternative sources of financing, including friends and family. If you exhausted all traditional funding ways, then alternative lending is a great choice. Once you've determined you need to apply for a small business loan / working capital, cash advance, then you must, at the very least, know the different types. Like you've come to the conclusion, but do you know the actual services? It starts with that, because that will then determine your actual fundability details. It's like working backwards. You must at the very least know the different types of interest rates for each service, so you're not blindsided and you have your standardized rate. And you can click here to see the different interest rates for funding, which I just sent a lot of people recently. But that's where you can learn more. So you're not coming into this thinking, oh, I wanted an SBA loan, but oh, well, you don't qualify. Or oh, whoa, I didn't want a cash advance, but oh, well, that's the only thing you can qualify for. Okay, do you have assets? Do you have enough liquidity, equity, liquid cash flow? Maybe I should work on that. Maybe. Or it doesn't need to be considered. What needs to be considered are the benefits exceeding your repayment. For those of you who do not qualify for those longer terms, and in some cases you may, but what you have to look at is the benefit exceeding the repayment. I say this every day. It's like a robot. And it is the truth. When I look at people who have been getting funded, people who take the money, people who go, it makes sense now that I'm actually applying it. I didn't see it before. Well, you didn't see it before because you didn't understand your finances. Boom. That's the honest truth. The truth hurts. You don't understand your finances. And I say that in a nice way. I do. I got my finances. I put them in order. I put them together. But if you're the product marginal cost, marketing and advertising, or you're the business operational person, or you're both, you're all three, or you outsource it, you work with somebody who does one part, somebody else does another, but you don't periodically check in your finances. But there's a reason why you think that, well, I do 300,000, I should be getting at least 1 to 2 years if I have 20 years in business. Then how does that make sense? If you get approved for 10 to 50% of your annual gross sales, your month to month, your average daily bank balance, your average daily sales, monthly sales in the last 6 months, your highest, your lowest, negative days, not sufficient funds, you think you're going to get the max amount that you're looking for at least the first time around? Or do you really think that you're going to get anything at all? This is going to be readjusted because of this. Well, you got to start low. You got to build your way up, man. Ma'am, you got to go from here and you got to go there. But how? You only do that by starting there if you need to. If you're here, but if you're there or you're there, it's different. So we go, hey, we get you out of this, we get you in a monthly term. We get you a monthly term, then we get you into an SBA loan. Or we have to do this twice, 3, 4 times until this is cleared. You're fixing your credit. Needs to be taken care of first. Boom. We get you moving into a monthly lender or a monthly service here. Boom, boom, boom. But many of you are lazy. That's the honest truth. If it hurts, it hurts. I'm going to be honest. A lot of you are lazy. And I'm going to say that out of love. I'm not saying that out of aggressiveness. If you feel like that, please feel free to voice it. Challenge me. If you think I'm being negative, this isn't that. I don't have a ruteful attitude or a rotten one. What it is tough love. Nobody tells you the way it is. So I'm here to do it. Back to this document. So question number 2, is a small business loan good for your business? Risk factors, okay? Understand that the effect of the repayment of a small business loan on your cash flow, even more on the interest rate rates itself, because depending on if you're going to a government funding program or bank loan versus the private lender, and the interest could be higher, medium to high. A loan does not change the fundamental working of the business necessarily. It's just your understanding of how you proportionally disperse the money within your business. It is in more direct proportion unto how you understand your finances, your accounting, your payroll, each and every one of the services, your inventory, what you need to supply, how much money you need for payroll, how much you need to do this for rent, for this amount of debt. You have to understand that. It strengthens a fundability sound business and quickly breaks a business that is fundamentally unsound. You should have a clear understanding of your income, balance sheets, your cash flow, so you can analyze and assess where you are right now versus where you want to be. And that's just some of the information. If it makes sense to you for you to move forward, then do so when the benefit exceeds the repayment. And build your way up with the lender. Don't just start, oh, I wanted 3 years, 4 years, but you couldn't get it, and I don't want the 18 months or the 17 months I was given. Well, you start less. If the repayment is an issue for you, start with less. But you're not going to continuously just go and apply because that's going to hurt you. Lenders see that. They can disapprove you right on the spot. You got an A-tier lender, but now you don't get one. Well, you just did this to yourself. Can you qualify for a business grant? Unlike loans, you don't have to pay back grants. Before applying for a small business loan, see if you qualify for a federal or private small business grant. However, grants can be highly competitive right now, especially. But if you can jump on top of the SBCI program, please do so. And it may not find your financial time horizon. If you'd like to see all your grant options and opportunities, I have a document there. Boom, click there, done, boom, done. You're in and out. Question 4, what types of small business loans are there? There are over a dozen types of small business loans and alternative financing options for small businesses. The most popular options are the business term loans, 1 to 3 years, even secured by collateral. You can even get more and more control in a lot of cases. Merchant cash advance, hybrids as well, cash advances, government-backed SBA loans, revenue-based financing, which is a part of cash flow, cash advance financing, and factoring. And this is just some of the many. Click here to learn more about the different types of small business financing. Very simple. And then here's an option. If you want to get started here, non-collateralized bad credit is acceptable, 4 to 24-month funding, and that may change over time, but that's what it is, and it's a great alternative. Question 5, when should you apply for one? Apply online once you have determined that a small business loan will help strengthen your business and you understand the different types of financing options like small business loans, revenue-based financing, business lines of credit, invoice factoring, equipment financing, personal loans, and a lot more. Each of these options have unique requirements to make sure you understand them well before you're speaking with the lender. You're speaking with myself, with the broker. Well, that's why you're speaking with me primarily too, because you want to get a better understanding. So that's what you want to do first and foremost. You want to understand how the underwriting process, what each step is going to take, what's my probability of this happening. Also, you should apply when you know you'll need your business loan by asking yourself two things. When will I need the money? Is it now or in the future? Will I need it? Will be having a heavy season coming up, and I need a lump sum. Is it a line of credit? If I perhaps I can get approved for it for cash flow purposes and other reasons. But don't just disappear. No, do not apply for a business loan advance just to see if you get approved and what you qualify for. Why? It will cause lenders to think you're not being serious, and for many other reasons. And the lender can actually cause a reduction or pull away completely from your file. And they will tell other lenders that are A-tier lenders as well not to work with you. And those A-tier lenders or B or however many lenders of that level were, they'll see that. And even if it's 3 months, 4 months from now, they're going to want more questions from you. And you're going to be wondering, why are they even questioning me? Because you're doing all this to yourself. That shouldn't be happening. Question 6, should you work with a small business loan broker? This is the ultimate question. Obviously, it is a yes, but it isn't always clear to everybody. Brokers are a great resource to get from offers from multiple lenders, as well as one direct lender. But like I said, there's the difference between one direct lender that I can send your file to, and then there's multiple where we have an in-house of those lenders. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get all those lenders. It may just be one at the same time, or one or two. But we're not doing anything wrong to your profile. We're not abusing it. We're not out there like, quote unquote, you think we're affecting it. We're not doing any of that. Your privacy is protected. So you just have to be careful. If you've had that in the past, those online marketplaces or those other ones, they work completely different. And what they release out to the public, to the credit card companies, and then other people get your information. That's not how we work. For one, so myself has helped out thousands upon 10,000 plus people get funding and mentoring. You absolutely should get help from a lender broker. Why? Outside of consulting, which I do. Like people ask me, do you consult? Yeah, I'm a broker who consults, who gives information. I know it's quite a bit, but it's a broker who gives you information, who validates that information, who shows you, hey, I'm going to walk you through the process. This is what needs to happen at every stage. And so it's very simple. For one, and I can speak for myself here, I have deep and good personal relationships, not only with the lenders, but with the underwriters. And I can pair you up with the right underwriters and lenders for your specific industry requirements, qualifications, and use of funds, and do so much more. And I have that business relationship very strongly. They go, hey, Michael. And I go, I'm sending you a file over, Jerry. This client has this. Great. Let's get on a 3-way call. Or they just go, hey, we'll just look through underwriting and they'll get in contact with them, with me aside, but I'll have the information when they're ready. Plus, going to a broker can benefit you on the fact that he or she will get you the best offer possible and knows that if you go directly to a lender, you may have too high requirements, qualifications, and you'll either get nothing or you'll get something, but it's not good. I just saved an individual. Literally, I saved an individual. Perhaps texting me back. But I saved them from taking about a $30K offer. Instead, we got him about $200K because of the lender that I knew and my team who were able to make it work because I have those relationships with them. And had he taken the other offer, and this person was bugged because they shouldn't have been receiving emails the way that they were getting. It was protection of their privacy, and these individuals, these lower tier lenders, were doing the wrong thing, and we had to have a conversation with their account manager and all that. So I don't want to have to ever escalate things to that point, but I go the extra mile for you. For one, and I can speak for myself, I have those relationships with, and plus going to a broker can benefit you in the fact that here we just covered that. And if you go just directly to all these online marketplaces, you can get heckled a lot of the time, pressured into something to take, getting emailed over and over, day after day, called all the time, text message, and so much more. Hey, here's the contract. Go ahead and sign it. No, you didn't even walk me through how to get this taken care of. Now you expect me to sign something or some kind of scammy lender who's trying to get you, hey, take a 600,000 line of credit. Oh, I just need you to get a signature. And I know all that. I've seen it. I even review the programs. I'll be reviewing more coming up. So you're going to be getting heckled a lot, pressured into something. It's not even the right offer, not the right lender. You're going to be double dipping. You're going to be getting an offer. You're going to be stacking on top of another one. You didn't even know what you were doing. And that looks terrible. No other lender was going to want to work with you, specifically the higher tier, because they see what you're doing. They see your past history. You pretty much screwed yourself. And that is not good. It is definitely not what you want to be showing and have that reputation for, unless you already have it. And like I have people who email me like, they just don't get it. I explained to them why they can't receive funding. You defaulted. And that's a huge case when you default, because it's one thing you get a daily, weekly, and daily, weekly repayments, don't think they're bad. They're helpful with cash flow, depending on how strong your business is. And also, if you're already paying rent month to month, how high it is, your credit card fees, you're paying all this stuff on a monthly repayment. You want another huge $8,000 repayment at the end of the month on top of the $3,000 to $5,000 that you already have. So you want to pay $13,000, $14,000, $15,000 in 1 month. You're saying that's what you want. You want a huge lump sum to come out, and then what you're depositing in your account may be a lot more than that, or maybe less, but it does not look good in the bank statements. But I had to withdraw. Well, you just did it wrong. It's about making your statements and everything look clean. And there's cases where a monthly repayment makes more sense than a daily or a weekly, bi-weekly. But not in all cases is a monthly repayment going to be the solution to all my problems. No, it isn't. I'd rather understand that I'm getting taken something out of my account on a day-to-day basis than have a huge amount of a lump sum, even if it's a lower amount like SBA loans. But I know what's being taken out of my account. I can keep that money that's coming into my account flowing versus what's going out. So a lot of people waste my time. It's one thing to waste my energy and my time. It's another thing to just be honest with yourself. This is why I don't answer every phone call when people ask for it. Why should I? Unless it makes complete sense for me to do right away, or we have to first do it this way. I need to get a better understanding. So that's just how it goes, guys. If you guys work with somebody else, they'll tell you the same, or they won't. They're just going to be trying to take on too much and everything. It just doesn't make sense. So you never end up getting a personalized, customized experience with someone else, and you're fully shown your best option and options broken down by the numbers before you even go and apply. I show you guys on-screen stuff, business credit building, a lot of stuff. However, many online marketplaces, and I named a few of them there. I'm just going to kind of go over that. But what I showed you there is that plenty of those types of companies that aren't exactly like the brokerages that I work with. Like you can say they're an online marketplace, but they're not exactly that. The way we shop, quote unquote, your offer, we don't disperse the information wrongly like you'll see in a lot of these other online marketplaces. Not saying they do 100% of that, but your information gets scattered and you don't always get the best lender who's bidding in that platform. By the way, if you haven't already done so, you can submit the funding details so I can analyze and evaluate you here. Additional questions to ask yourself: what pre-qualification documents will I need? I'm going to go through this rather quickly, guys, but you have this in you should already have this if you're subscribed through my email sequence. When do I need the loan? What will the loan be used for? How will it service? How much will I need? And there's each and every little part of that. But we're going to go over this rather quickly. Be realistic. How much you can get. That's number one. Like that's what everybody overestimates. And I'll show you what you should do. What's the game plan? The business owner, there's a few examples on what you could be doing, and I showed you guys there, but we're going to go through that. They don't qualify for that much. So there's just a few examples there. 7 important alternative business capital requirements: personal credit score, personal and business tax returns, balance sheets, profit and loss, bank statements, time and business use of funds. I'm going to quickly go through this. Business bonus, 3 tips for pre and post approval. Bonuses, extra material, banking activity. I don't know what the other individual was talking about because he subscribed. There's a guy who recently like reached out. He thought I wasn't like accurate in my content. I'm like, for one, do you expect me to cover like everything and anything and all in one video? It can't be unless I'm going to be here for 5-6 hours. So you might see something different in another one. But it's obvious that they didn't even look through this document because they had their answers right there. But because they were rushing, they didn't take the time, and they called me out on something. Called me out, but you didn't even go through the information here. That's a waste of energy and time to respond back to, honestly. But I will, out of consideration. I have compassion for people like that. I don't, the words not feel down on someone, feel bad on them. It's not it. I have compassion for people who have anger, resentment, feel this kind of way. It's hardly ever against me, but there is that one or two times once in a while. And I just show compassion. I'm like, it's okay. You need a hug. Come here. Nobody showed you how this works. Come here, Sally. Come here, John. It's okay. Now let me come back to this document. So banking activity, and then just a little bit more right here. Next steps on what I would do, and I'm going to update possibly a little bit, but it's all there for what you need. Now the last thing that I want to get into. Let me move this over to the share screen, and then we'll round up. So I'm not going to sound redundant. A lot of you have already seen this, so I'm going to quickly breeze through this. So 2 million plus in business funding with strategic partnerships and roadmap, the right one, without struggling and messing up badly. I spoke about this. Here's Jan. Are you hurt? Or perhaps you're a male in a situation like Jan right now where you're struggling. You're just feeling left out. Nobody is showing you how to get proper funding. And even when you apply to this, they just send my information to 20 different people. I don't want that experience again. So you spoke to me and you thought that's what would happen. But if you spoke to me, you would know otherwise. Oh, but I'm just tired of it. And yeah, it's okay. I see your major problems. I see your questions. I see the pain that you're going through. I've been there. And it's difficult when you are shown the wrong lenders, you're shown the wrong funding sources. Why should it be done this way versus that one? Why isn't that company better than this one? You'll see all that with me. But Jan here has no clue what's coming to her when I come and help her. She's going to be upright, not even having another worry on her mind. I'm handling everything for her. Boom, done. She's back to work. And you want to win big. You want to be like Lisa here. Lisa is not stressed out, obviously. Not a worry in her mind about my business. It's fine. It's running okay. I don't mind taking time away from it. I can sit out here in the sun for 2 weeks if I wanted to. Enjoy the waves that are very calm in front of me. I don't have to check in from time to time. I don't have to look at my phone or my emails every single second. I'm here with my family. And then you have John over here who's just exuberant because he has the financing he needs to take care of his business, to finally move up. At a point, he was going back and forth thinking about interest and terms and repayments and all this stuff that I have already addressed. And I said, for your specific situation, this is what I would have done. I would have done this differently. He's just very happy. Okay, in 3 months, I get to move up. I get to do it this way. Oh, okay. I have this term. What's the chances of me getting more when it comes to this? And how do I move up here? Easily taken care of. Step 1, find the right broker agent strategically partner with and have the right roadmap. Education, entertainment, follow-ups, feedback. Step 2, feedback. By 3, will you be there for me as I have been there for you? That's my question. Step 3, do you need the offer? So when we get to a point where there's an offer on the table, are you going to go ghost? Are you going to disappear and feel like you weren't given the best, or are you actually going to give me feedback? Or are you going to sit in the dark? That's your option. Leaving an offer on the table is not the solution. Just rejecting it because you didn't feel you got what you deserved. Oh, you got what you deserved. You were entitled. That you deserve better treatment is one thing, but the offer has to sound logically. So one last thing, and I'm going to close out in about a minute, so please stick with me. No, this is a long video. So this is the questionnaire form that plenty of you have already filled. So don't worry if you already did. And I still have to get back to you. Please be patient. I have a lot to get done with. Fridays and Saturdays are my catch-up days. So you can complete the questionnaire below to get a personalized and customized email response for your best funding option and options, plus get a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist to get you approved for funding much faster, all the way from your name down to additional notes. I'm not a creditor. Please put in the information correctly. It's safe and secure for me to get a ballpark range of what you can qualify for. And so it'll ask for things like phone number, mobile preferred, so I can send you a text after I sent you the email response back with your best funding option and options. It's a very thorough one too, by the way. I'm in business, is a years or months, FICO credit score. Do you have established business credit? Don't leave it blank. Lowest monthly revenue, average daily bank balance, annual gross revenue, highest monthly sales in the last 6 months. Estimate that if need be. Average monthly gross sales in the last 6 months, estimated if need be. Use of funds, existing business loan / advance. When do you need your funds? Business industry, business name, any additional notes you'd like to share, example, exact use of funds, expectations, etc. Is that everything? For now. It used to be a very short one, but if you're serious, you'll fill this out. If you want to work with the best, be treated like a human, somebody who actually knows you. Hey, how are you doing today? Oh, yeah, you're visiting family, you're out of town. I appreciate you for taking this call. I won't take up much more of your time. Boom. See, it's very simple for me to help you. But if you can't help yourself first, then what's the point? If you're just going to come in, I'm just here for a good time, not for a long time. You're that individual who's like, I'm just going to fill out another form and see what happens. You never even look at your email when I respond back to you, or you never answered a text, a phone call when it was necessary. I'm not wasting my energy and time on you. Other people need it. That time, those 5 minutes that I spent, I cannot get back. Do you understand that? Now, so it'll look like that more or less. Could be updated more over time, but here you go. It shows you how it works if you want to make sure you go through that. So I believe I've gone through everything I needed to. Let me make sure. I have a few direct lenders that I have on my tab open right now, but we'll consider what we just spoke about. And let me come back to this. So what I'll do is if anybody's in here still, I know it's been a while, I'll leave it for about a minute if anybody has any questions. But for all information, please refer to the description down below. And in that meantime, I generally don't look at my phone, but this is time sensitive. So I need to take a look at a few text messages, so please bear with me. Here he is. I've been trying to help him get funding, and he needed to get some clarification on an association. So now that he has it taken care of, I can go back to my lender. And then I have a lot of people right now who are unsure about their offers, so I'll be following up with you tomorrow. It could be a text, not a phone call. But just don't wait. Don't take forever because the lenders need to move their money. They might hold it off for about a week to two, even about a month in an extreme situation, especially with me because I know them. Others, they would have been like, we need to know now or tomorrow. But with me, it's like 7 days, 2 weeks, sometimes a month. But you don't want to drag it out. Don't do that. Then you have to find yourself going through the application process and then the underwriting again if need be, supplementing extra documents. A lot of people getting help, not only with funding, but more of the services that I can offer, especially those bonuses. Oh, one other thing I want to make mention of. For some reason, I always explain to people the terms. I explain to them when they receive their funds and what they cannot do. Like people have requests still to this day at the end of everything. And they go, I would like to have my funds deposited in a month, or I would like to start my schedule repayment in a month from today or 2 weeks. I have a new business account that I'd like the funds to get transferred into because of this, or I have another reason. With a lot of services, that's not possible, specifically uncollateralized funding and the way that they're serviced, like these cash advances, unsecured term loans, perhaps an SBA setup where you get approved, but your funds don't get dispersed between a month or so or less. That's a different situation. Sometimes it's a different type of loan where in 24 hours we get you approved, but your funds don't get dispersed until about a week to two. Not every funding product like that is like that. Unsecured financing products, bank statement, revenue-based. So when I explain this to you, don't think otherwise. And so I still have a lot of people who think that way, and they have those demands where, hey, it just won't not work. So if you wanted to apply again, you can do it in another month. If the month rolls over, we're not going to probably hold your offer for that long anymore. You've done it already a few times. So we're going to need your next month of bank statements once you roll over to the next month so we can reevaluate it. Or there's another piece of documentation. Hi, Joseph. How are you doing? Can I send you my information so that you can see what's going on? Sure. In your case, was a bank return? Feel free. Just if you'd like to provide me with more information on what I need to be looking at specifically, point it out so I can just jump to it. That'd be helpful. Have you filled out my questionnaire, by the way? And all other information for everybody else will be in the description if you guys want. It should be already sitting there. Sounds good. So I'll reset the clock because Joseph did come in, and if anybody has any questions. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome in. Appreciate you guys for being courageous and commenting. So I just spoke about an alternative to the SBA EIDL loan, and I went into a bit of the appeal process and how I directed you guys to the other content. I think I have it still down below. And then I went into the SBA 7A loan, a hybrid SBA that I over 90% of the time recommend most people go into, and how it's an in-house service and it's unlike anywhere else you're going to get that experience. And what you can see, yeah, there are direct lenders, and I also have those direct lender partnerships within like a brokerage type of setting. So I already have that connection with the underwriting team, with the actual lender partners. And so that's what I spoke about. I went into the 6-step pre-approval lending checklist And then I just showed you guys a bit of the strategy with strategic partnerships and having the right roadmap. Oh, PPP, as it's stated in the title. Not a lot has been moving, just fraudulent activity, nothing reopening, as well as EIDL, Grant SSBCI program, type in your SSBCI next to it, then put your state. And then I'll have a grant document. I believe it's still in there, grant document, down below in the description. Employee retention tax credit, up to $26,000 per employee. That's still available. So if I've already reached out to you for these things, you already understand. It's just a matter of you being responsive. A lot of you are, but a lot of you also are not. And then there's no feedback. Like when I follow up, it's been like 5 days. I'm like, what's going on? And I just wanted to check in. And then another 5 days go by and there's nothing. And then you email me out of the blue. What the heck? You emailed me back to something else that I probably already broadcasted. Sure. But look through the other emails that I've already sent you. And so it's like a lot of back and forth. Am I able to assist in obtaining grants for your small 3-year-old business? Yeah, it just, 3 years, been in operation for 3 years. And yeah, there are definitely a lot of multiple grant opportunities. I would start off with the SSBCI program, like I just mentioned, and then type in your state next to it. You'll get an option of different organizations through the Treasury Department. Every state is different. More money is being pumped into those. But I'll have grant opportunities down below. So I give you guys a lot of time. No, B as in Brian. And yes. So I'm a very punctual person. I give you guys the time you guys need, no pressure. But with punctuality, showing up when you need to be and where you need to be, it's just very important. I get people who submit to me haphazard documentation, people who just don't show up. And I question them and I go, are you serious about working with somebody who knows their stuff well, or do you want somebody who you don't have to? I had a couple missed phone calls. I think they were just, majority of them were spammers. And then that contact number looks familiar, but I haven't seen that before. All right, it's people like this. Let's see. No, please don't listen to the person who's on the screen right now, everybody. It's people like this who show up in my comments. And if I didn't mention this, be careful of who you guys see in my comment section. I'm not associated with them. I really can't do much. But we just are witnessing right now who you do not want to listen to and get scammed. Most definitely get scammed. Look at that. He even put the same message twice. I do not just give out my number. When you fill out the questionnaire and I respond back to it, you'll have my number. And I will sometimes even let you know it before if I send you a text before I need to get on a phone call. So I just don't want to put my number out there, even if it's just a business number. Usually it's my mobile, though, that you get. So questionnaire first, and then we can move from there. Because I can't just take calls out of the blue. Even if I send you a calendar link, it's like a lot of people think in this space that, yeah, I send Calendly links and There's a time and a place for it. But like I said, I gave you guys an example just not too long ago. I have people who dibble dabble, people who just dip their feet, but they don't go into the water. So why should I go into the water for you? You have all the information. It's just a matter of getting started. Well, I'm going to find somebody who can actually get on a call with me every week, and we can speak on a Tuesday. There's a time and a place for it, but it's not like you have to be doing that. I get if you're more old school, but all the information is there. Get started. Oh, we just did 3 phone calls. Oh, God, this guy just doesn't even, or this girl just didn't even do anything about it. Even worse, they didn't even give me any kind of feedback when I asked for it. And I took 3 phone calls with her, and I know her personally, and I care about her, but nothing, like no feedback. Not even the start of an application isn't what I didn't expect. I just feedback. It's just so stressful with people. And I'm sure you guys don't want that in your own business, so why would you do it to me? Not saying you are, but all right. So 30 more seconds. Unless there's a comment, I'll stay a little bit longer. Okay. Greatly appreciate you all for tuning in. Please give it a thumbs up if you found value. Share it with someone who you think will get value out of it, a complete stranger, friend, or a family member. If you haven't subscribed, please click that subscribe button and hit the bell notification, so you do not miss any future content that I will be coming out with. As for that, I got to get back to brokering with serious people. Not saying you're not, but if we're going at this, you're going to be well taken care of. All right. That's all for now. Take care.